Hey witches! So today I'm answering a request that I got on Instagram asking me to share how I work with the runes. My caveat here is I'm not an expert. There's a reason I don't offer rune readings currently on my website is I still feel like a total novice. I've been working with the runes since 2016, well, probably before that, really, but I started getting more heavily into working with them in 2016. And that began, the practice I do now began after I took a class with Galina Krasskova, who is a Northern Tradition pagan teacher, priestess. There's a lot of titles. She wears many hats, and but anyway, I took a class with her on divination, specifically how to do divination as a pagan polytheist as part of a sacred tradition. And when I mentioned to her I would love to work with the runes, but I have a block there. I had a major block. I picked up tarot cards really easy, but I was having issues working with the runes. And she gave me some great advice, but so I'm gonna give her advice to you. I just wanted to put the caveat in there that I'm not an expert, and a lot of this is actually her advice, not mine. First, of course, you'll need some runes to work with. Your first set of runes, of course, does not need to be fancy. You can make your own by getting some glass. What are those called? Those little glass things you can get to fill vases. They got like a flat bottom and rounded top. Get that and a Sharpie and make your first set of runes with those. You can also do your first set of runes with wood, or you can buy your first set. There's no rules on what your first set of runes has to be made out of. I recommend working with the Futhark runes to start out with. There's less of them. Mostly is the reason why. There are a few different kinds of runes out there, but start with the smaller set and go up from there, just because I think you'll feel a little less overwhelmed with the numbers. My first real set that wasn't like something I made was, which the ones you make are real too. I don't know why I said it that way, but the set I work with the most was gifted to me. It was part of an exchange I had. I went through a learning phase where I was gifting and receiving gifts, and this set was gifted to me by a very dear friend, and it's a snowy quartz set. And I think it was just bought on Amazon. Nothing, you don't have to get it from anybody in particular. So I got my set, and I asked Galina, I was still having issues with it. I went into learning runes the way I learned tarot, and it's not the same. And I finally figured out the reason why it's not the same is that, by my belief, this is not a shared belief, and there's a lot of people who don't believe this, but each rune is a spirit or entity, and you get to know them, and then you get to read the runes and work with the runes and the rune magic. And Galina has an amazing book out about runes and how to use them. There's other books out. So there's other resources that you can get. The issue with the resources, here's my thing. Don't try to memorize the meanings of the runes so much, because they are so much deeper than a few words on paper could ever express to you. how I work with the runes. Yes, I do look at the meanings on the paper, but the deeper understanding of the runes came to me when I took Galina's advice and I began to treat each rune as an entity. And when I did that, I treated them as an honored guest and a spirit by choosing a rune to work with. I did that by putting all my runes in the bag, shaking the bag around, and pulling one by lot, asking them which one wants to work with me. And I'll take that rune and I'll put it on like a small altar space, and I will give it an offering. For example, when I was doing this, I was breastfeeding, and one of the first runes I pulled was Bracana, and the offering I gave Bracana was breast milk. I bathed the rune in breast milk, I gave offering of breast milk, and I honored her. I then meditated deeply with the rune, asking for it to, if it was willing to express itself and show itself to me. And I have very visual, intense visions when I meditate sometimes, and I've yet to pull a rune and meditate with it that I have not had an intense visual experience. This does not mean that you will have an intense visual experience. Some people are more auditory, some people are more sensation or feeling, and some people have more physical world omens occur after them, or dreams. So your intuitive gifts will be more your guide. I wrote down everything that I experienced, the dreams that I had, any omens that came up. I kept very careful recording of each of them. And it is from that I figure out what my runes mean, who they are to me, who they are as far as who they have expressed themselves to be. Now, that's where I think that the books are going to be a little different, or you'll even see a meaning of a rune in one book different than the meaning of a rune in another book, because that is the facet of themselves they have expressed to that person. And a lot of resources are repeating what they've learned from other resources, so it's just the regurgitation of information. And I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying just be careful in the knowledge that this is somebody's experience of that rune, that it doesn't necessarily mean that that is going to be your experience of that rune. Now, that being said, your experience of that rune and somebody else's might be very dead on the same, and that is why that rune has that meaning. I hope that makes sense. I feel like it's probably not going to make sense, but the encouragement here is to get a personal relationship with each rune. Let them tell you who they are before you take into your heart the meaning somebody else has written about them. Now, when it comes to reading the runes, that will vary depending on your style of divination. Some people throw the runes like you would throw bones, or I've even seen runes picked out and laid out like a tarot spread. And then some people draw by lot. I do readings where I draw by lot. I do readings where I will personally pick a rune, like on purpose, not randomly, but I will dig through and find a certain rune that I'm working that represents a situation or person, and then I'll draw runes around that, or throw them like around that. So yeah, there's different ways you can do that. I've even seen rune cards done like tarot cards. So ask the runes how they want to be read. Just develop that deep personal relationship with them, and that is done through honoring them like a guest, offerings, and meditating with and communicating with them. So there's no quick, easy way of learning the runes. it takes dedication work, and it takes, hey Amber, it takes, you can read the books, but if you're not handling the runes, if you're not making them part of your divination practice, then it's going to be very difficult to learn them just by reading and memorizing what a book said. So that's my recommendation. I don't currently have a recommendation as far as like where to get your runes. So if you make runes, feel free to comment below, and so people can check out your website, book. Sorry, I have a fuzz on me. Your shop. So thank you all for watching. Mwah.